Good afternoon, Grace Community Church. Happy Monday. This is our 50th daily devotional. And wow, 50 days we've done this. We started it the week after, I believe, that we had went into being sheltered in place. Going through the Gospel of John, had no idea, didn't plan it this way, but we are actually going to finish the Gospel of John this week, right before we are allowed to gather together on this next Sunday. So, crazy timing in this. This whole time worked out to go through the Gospel of John on our daily devotional during being sheltered in place. I'm thinking about what we're going to do next for our devotionals in the future. And you can even let me know if you have some ideas. But I want to encourage you, as I said yesterday during our message, if you get a chance to watch the message from yesterday, go back, watch it. But our doors are open this Sunday for us to gather. We do have limited capacity, and so there is a RSVP required to come on Sunday because we are limited to only 80 people. So you can sign up, you can register to come, RSVP to come this Sunday at our website, gccelkgrove.com. All right, let's get into the Gospel of John 19 today. Final 3 chapters we are going to be looking at this week. We've seen Jesus be arrested. He is now standing with Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who's in charge of this area. And we're going to continue to see what happens with this, really looking at a decision Pilate has to make in this. And we're going to read about it. John 19, verses 1 through 16 today. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. The soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they slapped him in the face. Once more Pilate came out and said to the Jews gathered there, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him, they shouted, "Crucify, crucify!" But Pilate answered, "You take him and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis for a charge against him." The Jewish leaders insisted, "We have a law, and according to that law, he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid, and he went back inside the palace. Where do you come from?" he asked Jesus. But Jesus gave him no answer. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate said. "Do you realize I have power either to free you or to crucify you?" Jesus answered, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." From then on, Pilate tried to set Jesus free, but the Jewish leaders kept shouting, "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." When Pilate heard this, he brought Jesus out and sat down on the judge's seat at a place known as the Stone's Pavement, which in Aramaic is Gabbatha. It was the day of preparation of the Passover. It was about noon. "Here is your king," Pilate said to the Jews. But they shouted, take him away, crucify him." "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the chief priest answered. Finally, Pilate handed him over to them to be crucified, so the soldiers took charge of Jesus. So we see here, it starts off here with Jesus, he's flogged. He has a crown of thorns put on his head. He's being mocked and slapped in the face at one point. Horrible thing. When you talk about being flogged, it's literally beating to almost to the point of death. And he goes through all that, being mocked and just tortured in this. And we see Pilate, he thinks that's enough. He wants to let him go. And the Jewish people, Jewish leaders, pressure him, continue to shout, "Crucify him," over and over again, continue to do that. And Pilate goes to Jesus, trying to get Jesus to explain himself, to defend himself even. saying, look, do you not realize I have the power to set you free or crucify you? And Jesus tells them, you'd have no power if it were not from above. Basically, this is all part of God's plan. Is why Jesus has so much peace in this, because he knows this is part of God's plan. He knows the pain he is having to go through is for the sin of the world. Everything he is going through is for us in this moment. And Pilate constantly trying to free Jesus, constantly saying, I don't find him guilty of anything. And at the end, he's pressured. He gives in and hands over Jesus to the Jews for him to be crucified. Hands him over to be crucified to the soldiers. And we see here, it's interesting because the Bible, there's so much teaching in it. There's so many things we can learn from. And today we only read very little that Jesus said. Jesus said, you would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin. That Jesus' words here that we read today clearly stating, one, that people that are in authority, he's saying basically they have the power placed by God. God's in control of all things, and even if they're not doing the correct things, even if they're not good people, they're still working in God's plan for some reason. And so he said that he was placed, that the power he had came from above. The second part is he says, look, it's not you. He says that really the Jews are guilty of greater sin here, as he's pointing out, and because they knew who he was. They knew they were supposed to be watching for Messiah again, and they rejected him and feared him for losing power. And so here's the takeaway today, though. As we look at Pontius Pilate, this man of great authority, great power, all those things, Roman governor, and he was pressured into doing something that he did not want to do. I mean, he knew it was wrong. You can tell he knew it was wrong. And for that man to know something was wrong was pretty bad, because he was not a great person. He was not a nice person. He did horrible things, but he knew this was wrong. And he let people pressure him to do it. And I think there's such a good learning lesson in this for us, is that we have to be careful we don't let people pressure us into doing the wrong things. Society has a way of pressuring people right now. You can get just completely harassed nowadays for your beliefs, for the things that you believe, and for a lot of times the right thing, because of a lot of other people, the louder people, the people that are shouting, the people that are angry, wanting something that is wrong. And we have to stand firm, and we have to stand our ground. Even Pontius Pilate, we can learn something from. That's pretty crazy today. That's the takeaway today, is don't be pressured into doing the wrong things. Church, tomorrow we're going to continue learning about Jesus and seeing him really going to the cross tomorrow and the crucifixion. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. Church, do me a favor this week. Please stay in prayer for our nation. Stay in prayer for our cities. Pray for Sacramento, looting and rioting. Pray for unity in our nation, and pray for the people who are just hurting right now. There's a lot of hurting people. There's a lot of angry people right now. Let's pray for God's presence to just overwhelm our world and our nation. I believe that's the answer to this, what we are seeing, the division, to the anger, to the violence, to the unjust things that have happened in our society. I believe it's God. And so let's be in prayer even more this week for our nation. Pray for our city, pray for our nation, pray for our state. Church, we'll see you later. God bless you. Have a great day.